Well, welcome to another edition of Racing World. I guess we've got to start with the breaking news, which is kind of lucky that I'm making this a day later than normal, and that is Felix Rosenqvist will leave MSR at the end of this IndyCar season. There's no rumour, no doubt he is leaving. Where he's going? That's the zillion-dollar question right now. We know that there is some big offers out there for the reigning Indy 500 champion. The two most likely destinations for him are Andretti Global and then also McLaren. So let's look at Andretti Global first as a resting place for him. It keeps the Honda connection together. It would probably mean that fellow Swede Marcus Ericsson departs unless they run to 4 cars, and I can't see that happening under the charter scheme as well. So that would mean Ericsson would then be out the door. He's the only one in a contract renewal year at the Andretti team. Moving on to McLaren, we know that Nolan Siegel's going to go. There's no denying that he's going to go. Where he'll end up, who knows? I hope for Siegel's sake, at the age he is and everything that he's gone through, that he picks up a ride somewhere. Certainly hope that. McLaren, yeah, they'd love it. They'd love the PR around next year and the 500 and saying that they have the reigning Indy 500 champion driving for them. Their marketing on that would be phenomenal, and they know how to do that. I think that that's probably the place he's going to go, but the difference there is that it's suddenly Chevy powered. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. What's that do over at MSR? It frees up a seat. Who would go there? That's a very good question. Do they bring on new talent? Does Armstrong stay because he's also in a contract renewal year? You'd have to assume now that they'll want some stability in that team, so that would make that place far more secure now for Marcus than what it was maybe a week or so ago. Would he become the number one in the team? Highly likely if they bring in a new blood. If they bring in mature people, would it be a Siegel? I don't think so. Would it be an Ericsson? Swede for Swede? I don't think so either. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. And of course, they've still got their GTP program or their INSMA program, in the background as well. So maybe there's some cross-pollination between those. But all in all, what we do know is that Felix Rosenqvist will depart the team at the end of the season. Right, turning our attentions now to Road America, which happened just a few days ago. The longest racetrack in the series. It is a big, big lap with a lot of high commitment corners, the carousel, all sorts of things. There's a great variety of corners there. For Armstrong, seeing as he was the man of the moment, and he led practice 1, and he did it quite comfortably, considering he was also suffering from the flu at the time, was quite impressive. He felt that the track suited him more than some of the other tracks because it's very familiar to him in terms of how he raced in Europe, and you'll hear him mention that in a minute. But to see him do that is starting to see this cultivation of what we saw in Indianapolis. The kid is on a roll. The recipe is there. MSR is starting to deliver it as well. And I think that it's now only a matter of time until we see even more from Armstrong. But he certainly topped the timesheets on practice on day 1.
We were fast right out the gate, so that's the main thing. I don't think we strung together a perfect lap. I thought the following lap was going to be a little spicier, but I feel pretty confident around here. It's good to be back on a road course. It reminds me a bit of Spa in Europe, this circuit, somewhere that I'm very well familiar with. So I don't know, it's cool. It's nice and smooth. It seems like the tire is a bit better this year too, so it's been fun out there today. Nice, good in practice, but honestly, it's a worry when you're quick in practice because sometimes, like you just said, sometimes the reds don't work one day and then they do the next, and sometimes it can be the opposite. So, I feel happy that Felix is up there too, and also Alex, and I suppose all the Ganassi cars were quick today, so I think we have a good, strong package this weekend. One reason or another, it hasn't always come together, but even from St. Pete, I thought we had a strong car and a good chance for a podium, and it's been like that for the majority of the races, really. So I feel like the car has been extremely strong on road courses this year, and on short ovals we've managed to salvage some results, but it hasn't always been the easiest. So hopefully this weekend we can kind of string it together.
Good things from Armstrong, and I think what we're starting to see is a level of maturity come in there as well, and knowing that he needs to be patient and these things will happen. It's just the way it works. We saw it with so many drivers over the years, and then all of a sudden, the doors open. So, a great performance on Friday, especially considering he was carrying the flu. The other person up front on Friday was Palou Ward. He was a little bit more clouded, I guess you'd say, in his views, knowing that what you have on a Friday, which is also what Armstrong has said, doesn't necessarily transfer to a Saturday, let alone race day. But it was also good to hear from Palou.
Just guidance of where we want to go for qualifying, just kind of getting a read on what the alternate's going to do. And yeah, but the nature of IndyCar is you get surprised. You get surprised, what you felt in practice 1 and then practice 2 is something completely different sometimes. And you're like, why? Sometimes it is just a very smooth weekend. So whatever it is going to be, we're just going to try and maximize it.
I think personally, Palou's starting to feel a little bit of heat from Christain Lundgarrd. And of course, as the weekend unfolded, he's probably going to feel a little bit more. But, again, they're in the championship hunt. This championship is firmly alive now with the slightly down performance with Palou at the last round at St. Louis. So we're starting to see there are contenders in this, and these next few races and the rapid fire of these races will determine the 2026 champion. There's absolutely no doubt about that. If you were looking at it on paper, sure, you'd be saying Palou's still the favourite, or Kirkwood, but I wouldn't rule out some of these other guys down about as far as 6th or 7th in the championship currently. Things can change awfully quickly. In Mid-Ohio next week, another natural terrain road course, and it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. It was certainly a track that Dixon once dominated, and it would be good to see him dominate there again, just to cement the fact that he still is the man, if you like, a 6-time champion, and we need to remember that and remember everything he's done. And Mid-Ohio was certainly one of his courses. But to qualifying, of course, it was none other than Alex Palou.
Yeah, I think with every day, I guess everybody feels the same way. But yeah, I feel I'm improving in places that I was not as good last year. On the other side, I feel like sometimes I do mistakes that I would not have done last year. But it's the good thing and bad thing about sport. You cannot relax any single second. You need to keep on working on everything. Otherwise, everybody's going to catch up. But feels good.
The other person joining Palou on the front row was, of course, David Malukas. Now, Malukas has become the star, if you like, in many ways at Team Penske this year. He's cemented himself. He's proved that he does belong. The years at AJ Foyt Racing bringing him into this under the guidance of Team Penske, I think, are all starting to pay off. And when you consider a few years ago, it was almost doubtful whether he'd even race again. So we're starting to see some pretty good things here. And I think what is happening there is the confidence just continues to build. He's changed as a person, he's maturing as a driver, he's still very young, and he acknowledges that. And I think the key to a driver acknowledging those sorts of things, both strengths and weaknesses, and being well-rounded about it and humble about it as well, is a great thing. There are too many drivers out in the market today, and I'm not talking about IndyCar necessarily, I'm talking about F1 and some of the feeder series. They get a little bit too cocky too quick, and when that happens, the house of cards can tumble quite fast. But from Lucas, I think he's really becoming a well-rounded driver.
Every day, man, I just feel like I'm changing so much. If I even just look at myself now to 1 month ago, I feel like I'm a completely different driver. And if I compare to last year, it's not even relatable. So keep learning. 24 years old, we still got time. For me, I know the mistakes I made in Q3, but for me, I'm actually just over the moon because here I am, P2 on another road course, right? It feels really good. I feel like before this season, I just felt like it was ovals only, and I worked so hard the off season, even in between races, the amount of simulator work, looking at video, data. I look at video until I just get sick of it, to try to just learn and gain what I can. And now I can say road courses, street courses, ovals, it feels good that I'm always there on all three.
Certainly, I think that we're going to see much more from Malukas, and that win is coming soon, and then it'll be Big Dave rather than Little Dave. And it's putting a bit of pressure on his two teammates, McLaughlin and Newgarden, as well, to perform. But I don't think that there's any cause for alarm bells there. The only thing we still know is that Newgarden is in a contract renewal year as well. That's been kept pretty hush-hush at the moment, so you'd think that that may have even been sorted behind closed doors. I think the thing that concerns me right now with Newgarden is whether or not this injury is further complicated or more than what we have been led to believe. It's again been kept fairly quiet. He refuses to talk on the subject, but again, Felipe Nasser was on standby and at Road America all weekend long, a track that he's driven at, ready to jump in that car if that decision was made. And I'm wondering really, to help the healing process, whether Lundgarrd needs to eat a bit of humble pie here right now and take a few weeks off, get the leg or ankle or whatever it is fully repaired and let it rehabilitate, and put Nasser in the car for a little while. It's not going to hurt, but you know, that's a team decision. That's just a personal thought of mine. Anyway, the race, well, it had plenty of drama right from lap one. As we know, Lundgarrd went up the back end of Dixon on the opening lap and fell all the way to the back end of the field. Grosjean had some moments, lost a wheel, came back, got back into the top 6 or so, fell out of the top 6. There was plenty going on. This track certainly can dictate fuel strategy, the difference between the alternate tyre and the harder compound tyre played into the hands a little bit, but tyre strategy was also dictating overall race strategy and the fall of the yellows. There's a bit of talk about how those yellows come out these days. Again, I think that's interpretation from drivers as well as to whether they like it or not. The race itself, a lot of people are raving about the race, but I didn't necessarily think it was anything fantastic. I've watched the highlights a couple of times just to see if it changed my opinion on it. And while it was a good race and a fast race, and certainly the long lap, I didn't come away maybe as awestruck as I thought I would. But saying that, still a great race, an amazing drive from Christain Lundgarrd, amazing drive from Marcus Armstrong, who was cruelly robbed of that with just 3 laps to go. As we've said time and time again now, particularly since Indy, Armstrong's first win is definitely coming. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And again, this is a hard knock for him. But the thing about it is how you bounce back. And I believe that he's strong enough to bounce back. He's got enough people around him to know that. He bounced back already from the Indy 500 thing. So I think we're going to see him bounce back from that. And I'd put him in a very good place going into mid-Ohio. I just think it's going to come, and we're seeing it, and it's going to come pretty soon. There's no doubt about that. But for Lundgarrd, yes, amazing drive all the way from the back. Some great strategy from the team. A lot of luck falls your way as well. The run of the yellows plays a part, and of course that last yellow made it a bit of a sprint. David Malukas coming up onto the podium yet again. So again, sort of solidifying what we're saying about Malukas. And it was really interesting to hear how he thought those final couple of laps or so would play out when that final yellow fell and what would happen.
I mean, the very end one, that's the one that was not really any chance there. I mean, you're going against alternates versus primary tires. It's not going to really be a competition. I mean, you come out of turn 14, he's going forward, I'm going sideways. So that's kind of the result of that. But I mean, if it was same tires and, you know, you can maybe make an opportunity, yeah, you could try to set him up the next lap through 14. But, yeah, it's just tire difference there.
Malukas certainly another one of those drivers that's looking more and more confident all the time. And this is this next generation of driver coming through. You know, we've got people on the tail ends of their careers, such as Dixon and Palou and Rahal. And we're starting to see this next wave, like the Armstrongs and the Malukases and Kyle Collette as well, who had a great performance early on in the weekend. So I think the tide is changing, shall we say. Great podium performance also in third place was Will Power. Now there was a bit of biff and bash near the end of that race with Graham Rahal. Rahal certainly expressed his opinion about it, admitted that he was blocking, which I think that's an interesting thing to admit, because then you're almost laying blame on yourself as well. Will saw the opportunity, he was taking it, got squeezed up. I've watched the onboard angles from both cars a few times, and I'm going to have to side with Will Power on this. I know that's going to make you happy, Garden King, but I will side with Will Power on this one. The line was there, and he got chopped off by Graham. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So Graham can kind of talk as much as he likes, but I think that Will was justified in what he was doing, and we saw that confidence boost for Power as well, because he certainly needs that right now. The Andretti squad need that as well. But for Power, he had a lot of comments to talk about the yellow, when the yellow comes out, how the yellow happens, what you can do with the yellow. There's a little bit of humour in here as well, which Will naturally always brings to a press conference. And it's one of the characteristics I like about him. So you'll really enjoy this grab. shared between him and Malukas about what you could do with a yellow, but first his thoughts about when a yellow should actually come out.
Yeah, it's still hard to understand when they will throw. Like if someone spins or someone have to go on the gravel. In the past, if someone went in the gravel, there's no contact, they would let the sequence happen, and then they would throw the yellow, give everyone a chance to pit, which is, to me, in all motorsports around the world, is the fairest way, best way you could do it, because I think virtual safety cars, people still get a free pit stop. I thought IndyCar was doing it the best way, but now we're sort of back to completely inverting the field at times, which I'm not a massive fan of.
Do you feel we need to make a change to that rule now?
I think there's just leeway there, Car makes contact, everyone knows it's going to go yellow immediately. I think if a car's safely in the gravel, there's no contact, it's getting stuck, maybe you should let the pit stop sequence happen. Although, if you depends where you qualify. If you qualify in the back, you're fishing for those lucky yellows, someone going on the gravel. What it opens it up to is when it comes down to the last race, if someone's in the championship, you can have a teammate driving the gravel for you, 100%. Okay. No, I'm not joking. This happened.
Did it?
That has absolutely happened.
Because of yellow.
You could just have a teammate driving the gravel and someone pits early and boom. So.
Yeah.
Coming down to New Garden, or
Is that what you're saying?
For you, Joseph or McLaughlin? I'm sure both those guys would be happy to do it.
Oh my gosh.
Last race, you and Palou equal on points. Just
Oh, I see. You gave the script away, guys. Oh no. There you go. Oh.
driving the gravel, you get yourself a yellow.
I believe there are rules against that, but I mean, you guys
Well,
talk
there
amongst
isn't,
yourself.
Like,
Well,
I just locked up. I went long. What do you? Sorry. See me locking the wheel.
Yes, well, Will certainly knows how to perhaps wind people up and start rumours and all sorts of things, but fairly valid points there as well. And deep down, you know that he's actually saying what he's thinking and knows that those things can potentially happen. What he says is always truthful and acknowledge that, but it's great to have a bit of humour in the press conferences. Onwards to the winner, Christain Lundgarrd, second win of the year. So we're starting to see, as I've thought all season long, more and more strength coming from him. We've seen him come out of his shell since he was at the Rahal Letterman organisation, and a couple of years into this McLaren journey now, and we're starting to really see him mould the team around him, learn from Pato, work with Pato. Maybe he'll be working with Rosenquist next year, who knows. But for now, we're seeing just, again, another mature, well-rounded driver. And we're starting to see quite a few of those, which makes the series more and more interesting all the time, because the level at which these guys race at week on week is very, very high. Anyone who underestimates how high or how skillful these guys are needs to have their head read, because it really is very demanding and they race very, very hard. And I just question anyone who has any doubt over that. Anyway, great to hear from Lundgarrd. Been a very eventful weekend for him. Has a lot of thoughts in these grabs that we've got from the press conference, including whether or not he could have caught Armstrong at the end, or whether the yellow would have affected that, all of that sort of thing. So this is Christain Lundgarrd from the post-race press conference.
It was a very eventful day, a very long day. Not quite what I had on my bingo card waking up this morning. Obviously, this is what you hope for. I know on road courses it didn't really matter where we would start. We would always get a good result. I think we produce very good race cars. We need to still figure out how to qualify better. Obviously, this weekend has been a little bit of an outlier for me. Just not felt comfortable, not had the pace in practice 1 or practice 2, even though that we tested her 2 weeks ago. So been a confusing weekend, but to end with a win, I would say even confuses me even more. When I came out in front of David Malukas on the last stint and then got passed. That was the moment I realized that we were fighting for a podium, right? I mean, I never thought I was going to catch Marcus. I was going to give it my best shot to get close to him and put him under some pressure. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't really obvious at any point until then. No, I was trying to drive around and do some math of the amount of the speed that I was faster than him, and still the gap that I had to close. And I think Kyle Moyer told me that at this pace, we were going to catch him on the last lap, but I still have to get by him, and I didn't really know how much push to pass he had. But at the end of the day, if the yellow and the safety car that came at the end would have happened anyway, I think we would have had him.
Well, there you have it, another week and another race in another part of the championship. Palau still leading the championship, but as I've said, it's squeezed up a little bit. We're starting to see maybe 7 people in contention for the title. Obviously, that requires Palau to have another bad weekend or a DNF completely and score not that many points and other people to score strong points. So you would still put Palau in the top spot there. Kirkwood's still there, but we are seeing other people, including Malukas there, and the McLaren double of O'Ward and Lundgarrd as well. Dixon back inside the top 10. Not been a great season, but enough said on that matter, really. We'll start to see now, because of Rosenqvist, whether or not the game of roulette starts. Remember, Dixon is a free agent now. It's up to Ganassi to pick him up. The other thing to remember here is that both Rosenqvist and Dixon share the same team manager, and that's former Ferrari Formula One driver Stefan Johansson. So Stefan's obviously been busy dealing with Rosie. Now he's going to have to tidy up the Dixon side of the equation as well, which he's a great guy, and I'm sure that he'll get on top of that. Once we see the reaction to where Rosenqvist goes, the rest of the season and where people start to go will start to play itself out. So there's a lot to come, both off track and on track. We move to Mid-Ohio next week. Mid-Ohio is a fantastic course. As I said, once really clearly owned by Dixon, absolutely no doubt about it. Will we see more of the same? We'll see great racing there. Very fast track in terms of commitment on a couple of corners. Very interesting pit in and pit out there. So we're going to see a lot of good racing there, and we'll have all of that next week for you as well on Racing World. Until then, once again, I just cannot reiterate this enough. Thanks so much for the comments, the shares, the likes. We're getting a little bit of an increase here. We're after a whole lot more, and we can endeavour to do some more things. And I can tell you that we will be at more events this year as well. So I have some on-site reporting coming from the last part of the season as well. So we'll definitely be there, and we'll reveal all those next week for you in the next week's show. Until then, take great care out there. Stay safe wherever you are around the world or around in New Zealand. Thanks again. I appreciate the chance for you to take time out of your day to view these shows, and we'll see you next week on Racing World.